Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Friday, November 18th. I'm Jason Fulmore, SE Wrestle, and today we are releasing my conversation with KabraWrestling's Brant Parsons and his look at the 1A dual top 10 and 1A IBT, the basic traditional tournament top 10 in the state of Florida. But before I get to that, here is like a bunch of things that have been going on around the Southeast. I just went through social media and grabbed a couple of different things that that you might see. Tons of action happening all over the Southeast. It's interesting to kind of just keep track. And this weekend, tonight, I will be in Greenwood, South Carolina, for the Lander Southeastern Duel. Two of the top teams, top 10 team in Division 2, Lander, top 5 team in Division or in NAIA with Southeastern. It's going to be a great duel. Look for some of those videos next week. And look for 2A and 3A in Florida as well. But today I'm talking to Brant about 1A. So I hope you have enjoy our conversation. We had a great time talking about all the really, really great programs in the state of Florida in 1A.
All right. I'm here with KabraWrestling's Brant Parsons. Brant is running around like a maniac right now because you've got previews, you've got rankings, you've just got everything going on as we get ready to kick off the season. Have you slept?
I sleep occasionally. I didn't stay up to watch Artemis because I knew that I wouldn't have time to get something done if I wasted that time. But yeah, I sleep. I mean, I have 5 kids, so they keep me busy. I find myself working at. I took my daughter. She auditioned for All County, and so while she was auditioning, I'm in another room going through schedules and highlighting things. I mean, so we find time. I fit it in.
Yeah, 5 kids and doing all of this. Man, so for people who don't know, we reached across the Southeast. Kabra Wrestling is, for me, the destination for Florida and Florida wrestling. I cover the whole Southeast. So I'm trying to learn a little bit more. I've got that kind of top level stuff, but right. You got the depth. You know them really, really deep and everything else. Tell me just a little bit about kind of, if I were to log on, what can I find at Kabra Wrestling?
Well, I mean, you can always find on the main site. I think one of my favorite things I have is the day after the state tournament, I start the tournament schedule for the next season. And I have the most comprehensive tournament schedule that you're going to find anywhere, maybe in the country, certainly in Florida. And coaches use that to make their schedule. And the amount of coaches that have reached out to me this year and have been like, thanks so much. I couldn't have done my schedule without you. Or reach out to me and say, they're looking for something. I send them a link. And oh, wow, this is amazing. So you'll always find schedules. You'll always find results. We put everything up that we can during the season. Mm-hmm. On my Kabra Plus subscription, you'll find individual rankings that are updated weekly. I rank 1,120 kids every week. Woo. All 4 classifications, top 20 in every weight class. And so I spend 2-3 days every week just pouring through results. There are team rankings you'll find there. Wrestlers, maybe we might be bringing back wrestler and team of the week this year. And then when I have time, you'll find great features and hopefully some wonderful stories about the people that make wrestling happen, which is actually my favorite thing to do. I don't have enough time to do it, but I love just telling the stories.
That
I get told when I'm out there.
It's the best part of it, but so many people want the other things. It's hard to put.
They like the rankings. They want the rankings. And I mean, the reason I started really doing the whole state way back when I was still back at the Orlando Sentinel is because there wasn't a singular place where you could find it, and I wanted to create that.
Yeah. All right, man. So let's jump into 1A, and you've got both IBT and duels.
Yes.
For this, and as I was breaking these down, as I was looking through these, I found it really interesting because I agree with you that there are differences between these two things, and the way a team is structured really can enhance or bring them back depending on whether they're doing IBT or duels. So to start down, let's start with some similarities. These are teams, 4 of your bottom 5 teams in the top 10 are ranked in both IBT and in the duels. Yuli is number 10 in IBT, number 9 in duels. Hernando is number 9 in IBT, 8 in duels. Swanee is 8 and 7. Somerset is 6 in both. So what does that say about those 4 teams that you see them in both the IBT and the duels?
I mean, they're all just deep. And I think that's one of the things we've seen, at least on the top end of 1A, is like teams developing depth. And there was always, and you still will, and there'll still be some this year where you'll find in 1A where they have like 1 or 2 kids and they're like state champion or state placer kind of material. But I mean, the one that sticks out, Clearwater Central Catholic, they've got 3 guys that could wrestle late on Saturday, including a defending state champ. But these teams, I'm just looking over them real quick here, and they've all got 6, 7 guys ranked. Right. And they may not have the firepower of some of the top teams as far as, so my IBT rankings are based on how I feel the state tournament would finish. Mm-hmm. So I have my own point system I've developed based on average points for each place. And so it's kind of a preview. It's not a preview of any other thing. It's not a preview of district tournaments, region tournaments, weekend tournaments. I'm trying to predict how these teams will finish in the state tournament, right, in the IBT. And so you find some of these teams at the bottom in 1A. Now, when we go, if you guys watch the 2As and the 3As, there's a lot more change because I think there's like 4 or 5 in each one that are only ranked top 10 in one of them. But what we're seeing with these 1A teams in the bottom 5 here, they're all very good teams, and they're also going to have a lot of people wrestling in Kissimmee. And I think that's pretty significant in 1A to have at least 10 teams that are this deep, they can be a good dual team and a good IBT team.
Very cool. Yeah. So one of the teams that pops into your bottom 10 for duels, like is actually is number 10.
They are number 10 in duels.
But number 4 in IBT. I mean, we're talking a significant difference here is Palm Bay. So what is it about Palm Bay? I mean, for me, off the top of my head, what it means is they've got hammers, they got some studs, but they might have some holes throughout the lineup. Is that what you see between? Yeah. Is that how you rate that?
Throwing all of these different things in, but it's based on what I know going into the season. And Palm Bay graduated a lot, and so they may end up being a top 5
dual team.
They certainly have the coaching and the history of doing that. But at least going into the season, they do have some unknowns. But they also have some hammers. You have Nathan Furman, state placer. I have him ranked number 1. Ronald Thylacker, state placer. I have him ranked number 1. You have Bryson Turner, a state qualifier. I have him ranked number 2. Then you have Roman Maldonado, who came over from Heritage, state placer. I have him ranked number 4. So you have 4 guys right there that are ranked. Oh, and Octavian Osby, also ranked number 2 heading into the season, a state placer. So they've got the hammers. They may end up having some other parts, but there are more question marks with Palm Bay just because they have some holes to fill. They've got the guys to fill them, and they would be one I could see rising on the dual side. But heading into the season, though, they just have maybe a couple more unproven commodities that we'll have to see how it plays out.
Now, you just threw out a couple of individual rankings. We're talking about team rankings here, but you threw out some individual rankings, and you do those like all the time, or like almost weekly,
weekly during the season, once or twice a month during the off season. But yeah, they are all I do pretty much once the season starts. I mean, I'm watching when I'm at tournaments. I'm constantly doing them in my head and thinking, oh, that's a big one. And then once I'm done compiling all the rankings, then I just dig into them and then publish them every week. They
on Kabra Plus,
on Kabra Plus, I rank 1,120 kids every week, top 20 in every weight class, and all 14 weight classes, all 4 classifications.
So the opposite of Palm Bay is Mater Lakes, and Mater Lakes is a number 7 team in IBT, but is a number 2 team in duels, and to be a number 2 team in duels. Boy, that tells me that you've got 14 kids who can go out and compete. So
they will have a full. Now, also, one of their benefit too is maybe some of these other teams aren't as deep because it is 1A. But I mean, Mater Lakes is loaded with kids and with kids with experience. And again, it's one of those things where their IBT ranking could raise as some of these kids get experience. But going in that they have got kids at nearly every weight that are either in the top 20 or right on the edge of the top 20. And every single one of them is going to be a hard out. I remember they're one of the teams I really enjoyed watching at the state duels last year. They were just invested. I have a video on TikTok, I think, on one of them.
Is that
reacting after a pin won them in duel. I mean, they were all invested. They're all, I mean, not that other teams are, but this is a very tight duels team. And certainly just based on what we have going into the season, not too many holes in the lineup, not a lot of easy 6-pointers for the other teams to get.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because I think that's, for people who don't know wrestling to a great degree, you can have 5 or 6 absolute studs, but if you have nobody else in the rest of the lineup, you'll lose a duel. Yeah. And I don't care if you have the 5 best kids in the country, you will lose a duel because there are 14 weights. So I think that's important to know. And it's so important as a former coach of trying to get those kids who are maybe not at that level. They're not going to compete for a state title, but they can still play such a huge role in the success of the team.
And when you have as many, you also have some wiggle room, which is my favorite part about duels, is watching coaches move
people around,
move pieces around.
Yeah. A little like chess.
Yeah, a little bit.
For us, it might be more like checkers, but it's all good. All right. So your 2, 3, 4, 5. We've already mentioned Palm Bay and Mater Lakes kind of peeking in there in different ones.
Yeah.
But, these 3 teams are 3 teams that are in the top 5 regardless. So you've got First Baptist Naples, who's number 2 in IBT, number 4 in duels. Yeah. Why don't you just take 2 seconds, not very long. What makes them a top 5 team in both of those?
I will add to this that out of all of these teams, First Baptist Naples is the only one I have not heard from to confirm. So I don't know that all of these are coming back, but if they do come back, Christian Motor, Caleb Rodriguez, Jonathan Motor, Andres De Gregori, Michael Kersey, Gavin Patton, Joe Castellone, those are all top 3 or higher ranked heading into the season. And you've got a defending state champion there. You've got a handful of state finalists. You've got guys that have been wrestling year round there. But they don't have the depth that I know of yet. They may. Again, I've reached out to every coach in the state multiple times. I did not confirm any of their team, but if all of those guys are back, then they are, to me, and we haven't mentioned Jensen Beach, the defending state champions, to me, on my calculations, there it's a dead heat, or just about a dead heat between those two at the IBT.
Right. Well, in terms of returning points, I mean, it's only like 3 points that separate them in terms of returning points.
Yeah.
So, it certainly seems like it could be neck and neck. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. And they're still 4th duel. So it's not like they're like a weak team. There's just maybe a couple holes there. They've got a couple guys coming back who are younger, and who knows how much they've gotten better just being around some of those other guys. But at least heading into the season, based on what I know, they're not quite as deep as maybe a couple of the duels teams. But they are a contender for a state title in IBT. And if things go their way and some of the brackets fall right, I would not be shocked to see them in their 3rd season win a state title.
All right. So let's now jump to Cardinal Gibbons. They're 3 in IBT. They're number 5 in the duels. Obviously, adding Frankie Florio and Mako to their lineup, which already includes Nicholas Yancey and other hammers. What is it about Gibbons that makes you think of the top 5 besides of what I just said? Obviously,
I mean that's a big part of what you just said.
I know
you just named a state champ, a guy that'll probably be state champ, or 2 state champs, and a guy that'll probably be a state champ this year also. They're loaded, and they're slowly building some depth there too, along with guys moving in. Some of the guys coming back. They did graduate a couple, which makes them maybe not as maybe not as deep as a Mater Lakes or a Jensen Beach heading in, but this is it's a very good IBT team. They're going to score a ton of points with those state champs. And if the other guys can step up, then they become a deeper team. But I have them pretty solidly third on my point system, separated from Palm Bay and separated between 1 and 2.
Okay. So now, probably to me, one of the most intriguing teams of the 3 teams that we're talking about up here, and that is Lemon Bay.
Yes.
They come in number 5 at IBT. They come in number 3 in your duels, but they return like 10 kids who are in Kissimmee. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if I counted wrong or something like that, but they return a ton of kids, 5 placers. I mean, on
the only
paper,
thing they don't
looks
return is their state champ.
Right. Lance Schick. Right.
And I think they do have a lot coming back in, and they've been working and getting better, and that makes them a very good duels team. I'm really looking forward to Lemon Bay First Baptist duels, before I think we even get to Kissimmee. But Lemon Bay is deep. I don't know if they have a star power yet. They've got guys that are on the edge of being star powers. You have Chase Alden. He was a state finalist. Cohen Hoffman, he was a state finalist. You've got a couple more state placers, guys that finished on the podium at 8th. If those guys continue to get better, I mean, I talked to Mike Schick. He said this team's probably better than last year's team. And last year's team had an undefeated 2-time state champ on it. But they've got so much coming back. It's a different look this year. Right. For Lemon Bay, but it's definitely a very top to bottom, filling almost every weight class with somebody good.
Well, and they've all gotten better. I mean, another added year of getting better and coming back. It's nice to have Lance Schick sitting there and you can count on him, but he's not going to help you at 113 where you got a hole, and you got that kid to get developed and things like that. So, all right. So I'm going to do a quick countdown of the 1A duels. Palm Bay is 10, Yulee is 9, Hernando is 8, Suwannee is 7, Somerset Academy is 6, Cardinal Gibbons is 5, 4th is First Baptist Naples, 3 is Lemon Bay, 2 is Mater Lakes, and your number 1, Jensen Beach. And I mean, we could talk a long time about Jensen Beach, but if you were to boil it down, you've got them number 1 in both duels and IBT. What is it about this team that makes them special?
Defending double state champion, right. Jensen Beach. They've got a lot coming back. They did graduate a few big players on their team, but I mean, you have Sebastian DeGennaro coming back. You have Ryan Mooney, Jewel Williams. You've got Charlie Armstrong moves over from Okeechobee, adding some depth and state placers to the lineup. And you just have guys that have just wrestled together since they were kids. I think they're maybe a stronger dual number 1 for me heading into the season. And like I've said, they're close with First Baptist Naples. But again, this is a team that is going to have 14 good wrestlers at every weight. And if a couple of the holes get filled better than adequately, then you've got a state champ IBT and a state champ duels. There's just so much talent, and watching them last year at the state duels, they just so many weapons. And then guys that you didn't even expect to be weapons knew how to step up. And I think that was the other thing, is they wrestled really well as a team.
Yeah.
And that kind of separates them on the dual side. And they had guys that weren't supposed to wrestle that show up and get points or don't get pinned and those kind of things. And then on the IBT side, they're just loaded with so many guys. I mean, you have 2 state champions coming back. I mean, that's enough right there, right? And then you have a whole bunch of other guys that were just on the cusp of that should be there this year.
Right. I mean, in the parade of champions walking out, they could have. I mean, we could see Jensen Beach singlets all throughout that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking at it real quick. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wrestlers in the top 3. I've got 8 if you count top 5. I mean, they're loaded, and you have some guys coming up that didn't even compete in the postseason that are good, that may have a spot this year. And certainly we've seen a lot of Team Barracuda over the summer doing well, and guys coming up there. So that you're going to see a lot of Jensen Beach on Saturday night this year.
All right. So countdown of your IBT top 10. 10 is Yulee, 9 is Hernando, 8 is Suwannee, 7 is Mater Lakes, 6 is Somerset Academy, 5 is Lemon Bay, 4 is Palm Bay, 3 is Cardinal Gibbons, number 2 is First Baptist Naples, and your number 1 team coming into the season for the IBT and 1A is Jensen Beach.
By a sliver. by the
by a sliver.
thinnest of thin margins.
So my last question as we wrap up 1A is, if there's a storyline at the end of the year, if you're going to make a prediction of a storyline at the end of the year for 1A, what is that headline?
Oh man, I mean, it depends on who wins. You either have the veteran Jensen Beach team that's been together, or you have the upstart First Baptist Naples team has 6 state champions, and that's why they almost Tampa Jesuit like. You know, if some of these guys get over the hump and finish first instead of second this year, then you're talking about First Baptist Naples riding multiple state champions to a state team title.
All right, man. It's going to be fun. Brant, I appreciate you taking the time. And
Absolutely.
maybe we can touch base at the end of December and kind of look at 1A again.
Sounds great.
All right, man. See ya.
See ya.